Alrighty, so today we are plugging another movie into the one-shot review system. If you watched one of my recent reviews that I've actually uploaded, they're now on YouTube, so they're out there for the world to see, other than just fucking saving them to my computer. I have been putting off watching the Equalizer movies because I want to go see Equalizer 3, but every time I have free time to watch something or I don't know, just to goof off, the idea of watching two movies to then go be able to see the third just seemed kind of intimidating. But I really do want to see it. I think it would be fun. The movie itself looks fun, and the people casted looks like it will be fun, especially with the obvious marketing they're trying to do with people that enjoy Man on Fire. But regardless, today I actually did watch the first Equalizer movie, and I have some thoughts. First of all, I got it at Best Buy via 4K UHD Blu-ray, so I own it physically. So that's the way that I watched it. I'm not sure if it's on streaming or not. I think it might be on HBO. But as far as I can tell, the second movie is on Hulu, but that's about it. It might be on other things, so I'm just not paying attention. But I think it's a Sony movie, so it's not really tied to any of those studios that have streaming services already. Now, what is this movie about? Before I even get into that, I just want to say, normally when you watch a Blu-ray, especially these newer 4K Blu-rays on the PS5 or even on the PS4, but especially on the PS5, there's some sort of lock where like certain Blu-rays let you get right to the menu and you don't have to sit through any trailers. Some have trailers, but then you're allowed to skip them, no problem, and hit the main menu right away. And others literally make it so that you cannot skip anything. One, for example, I think that had this problem, but I guess I'll confirm it here sometime in the future, is like, for example, I want to say some Lionsgate movie, like maybe it was Knives Out or something like that. We literally could not skip through anything to get to the main menu, but I might be wrong. But that's just annoying. And at the time, I thought that it was a PS5 thing. Like Sony allowed the movie companies to make it so that, and Sony would get in on this too, right? Because they have their own movie company and stuff like that, to get in on the fact of like forcing people to watch trailers and the previews and stuff like that, to whatever benefit that might give them. But this movie is a full-on, Sony, Columbia Pictures, every piece of technology in the movie was Sony, type of movie. And the second I put the disc in, once it started reading it, it just, boom, took me right to the menu. So maybe it's not the PS5, maybe it's not Sony, maybe it's the individual companies and how they put it on the disc. So just, that's one thing that I found that was interesting. I feel like through a process of doing this project, I'm going to find out little things like this, so I wanted to take note of it. But so that's just one thing I want to say. I do appreciate when that's the case, even though it is kind of fun when I watch older movies to be able to see the trailers that are alongside the movie, because that kind of gives me an inclination of, if I like this movie, then maybe I should check out those trailers, that I've never heard of those movies before. Or even if they just look interesting or it's just nostalgic to see an old school style trailer. But that being said, getting into the movie, what is this movie about? So first of all, it stars Denzel Washington as the main sort of lead guy. And it opens up to him being this very methodical, planned out person who uses a stopwatch to time everything. And he works at literally Home Depot, but it's called like Home Store in this movie. But if you've ever had to make trips back and forth to Home Depot all the time, like, this place could not be more Home Depot. And he just seems like he lives a normal life, except for the fact that he's always reading when he's at home. And then, I guess that's not like not normal, but he then stays up super late at night, even though he gets up and goes to work in the morning, and he goes to this diner every day. And it seems that he just goes there to read, but he's also sort of getting a getting a lay of the neighborhood for some reason. I think he's been living there for a while, so I don't think it's a recon thing. I think it's just more a habit. But through doing this habit every day, you find out, and through following him in the beginning of the movie, you find out that he is the type of person, which kind of made me smile, that is nice to people around him and tries to build them up and stuff like that. So one example of that is he's trying to help teach or at least train this one guy to become a security guard, which is what that guy really wants to do. And the other thing is that there's this prostitute that doesn't seem like she wants to be a prostitute. I mean, that's what she is. And it's played by the little girl that's now grown up, that's like in Kick-Ass. And I think she does a really good job of kind of selling that she's not her, if you get what I mean, when you see like child actresses or actresses that you've seen in a lot of movies. This role, I feel like she did a good job kind of playing the part. I don't know, but it was believable, I guess, which I didn't expect. That being said, you know, through this, you see he's trying to help people out. Like, for example, this girl seems like she wants to be a singer, but they lay it on pretty thick that she's in some sort of captive situation where she's being pimped out and stuff like that. And what happens is, basically, you know, he's trying to help her out, kind of coach her into believing in herself to follow her own dreams and stuff like that. And then a group, whoever her masters are or whatever, not to put it that way, but, you know, just for the simplicity of the video, they don't like what she's doing because she's rebelling. And like one of the other prostitutes says, like, oh, she's got it in her head that she can live her own life as she pleases. And this is, I mean, not only the sort of thing that he had told her or tried to convince her of, but then it goes to bite her in the ass when she comes up beat up from one night, and then following that, in front of him, she's taken away and she gets beaten within an inch of her life. And then this sort of gives Denzel Washington's character the motivation to get back in action. We don't really know what he is yet, but it's pretty clear that he is some very capable individual as they start to set these people up in movies like this. And so then the rest of the movie is him sort of dealing with that and trying to solve that problem in a similar way to where John Wick is sort of hunting down all those guys who are a part of killing his dog and messing his house up and stuff like that. In this movie, The Equalizer, Denzel Washington is kind of making sure everybody connected to this crime family that hurt this lady is getting their comeuppance. And it turns out that not only did they do something to harm her, but they've also done something to harm the guy's family that is you know, trying to become a security guard. And they're just a general blight in this entire area of what I'm guessing is Boston. And so then the movie, you know, it's kind of like him versus them, and you get to see that all play out over time. And I don't really think there's any reason for me to spoil any more specifics other than that, because, you know, the movie is a part of the genre that it's a part of. When you see the cover for this movie, you'll understand exactly what kind of movie this is. And you see Denzel Washington's on it, so at least, you know it's going to be at that level of quality, at the very least. And I did appreciate the movie, and I really liked it. What can I say? I mean, you know, to talk about things that were interesting in this movie that I don't feel are really like heavy spoilers, I liked that there was this theme where he was still sort of connected to his dead wife in a way, where he was trying to live his life in a way that she might be proud of it. And in that, he like took up the challenge to read the 100 books that everybody should read before they die. And he said his wife got to 97 and he's at like 91. And it was interesting how they sort of laid it on thick, the different themes of the movie, by showing the different books off and stuff like that. And then those themes relating to things in the movie, like, for example, he's supposed to be this guy that's retired and doesn't want to be a part of this life anymore and stuff like that. But then just like that, he gets dragged back into the action. And he had just recently in the movie talked about, you know, the man in the sea, and how, you know, even when a guy thinks he's done, when faced against his best adversary, he then gets the motivation to keep going because it's like that's what he is. He can't be anything other than himself. It's he is the man and they are the fish, and it needs to get handled, right? And so that was pretty interesting and kind of a cool way that they did that. At the end, they showed that the book he was reading was The Invisible Man, which kind of was a nod to the fact that he, if we're going to think about action hero stars, Denzel Washington in this movie is much closer to Batman than John Wick is. Like, John Wick goes right into the place, shoots it up. He's got a bulletproof, jacket on, and he's just going aggressively, like action first, handling it. Whereas the Equalizer uses the shadows to his advantage, and he sets up little traps to catch you in a loop and show up right behind you and disappear when you last expect it, and stuff like that. And in that way, he's very similar to, like, if you've ever played a stealth game, or even like Marvel's Spider-Man, or like the PS4 one, or Batman Arkham Asylum, City, and Arkham Knight. This style of like stealthing where, there's literally like a scene in, by the way, Dan Bilzerian's in this movie as just like a random grunt. There's a scene in the end of the movie where he sets up a trap with a bunch of concrete bags tied to be a weight against, like, what is it called? Like, the privacy fence, barbed wire, and it literally hangs Dan Bilzerian through the neck by a barbed wire to the ceiling. That was pretty interesting. But that's kind of like the type of fighter that he is. And they did have some cool moments where, like time slows down and he sort of does that ocular pat down move that is famous now after those Sherlock Holmes movies. And he sizes him up and takes him down. And that's pretty cool too. I just think that, well, anyway, I'm just saying that at the end of the movie, the book that he has on the table is The Invisible Man. So, they're trying to say he's that type of guy or whatever. But all in all, I think the movie was pretty good. There's another aspect of it too where he's got almost like a rival in this movie, where there's this Russian guy that is like a sociopath that's, almost on his level of, tactical smarts or whatever, or experience. But in reality, he just catches W after W in this movie. So there's only one time where there's a misstep and he kind of has to save his buddies. But I think all in all, this movie was really good. I think if you're into a movie like this sort of action films, and this has got to be one of the ones that you'd want to see. It's Denzel Washington, best actor ever, if you're listening to Froggy Fresh. But yeah, he does a great job in the movie. Everybody else does a decent job. I think that it has the same cliche that any of these movies have. And so if you're okay with that, then, I think that's just a part of the genre. And personally, it doesn't really bother me. And I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was definitely not a waste of my time. And I really enjoyed watching it. There were definitely some cool scenes and some like badass moments where he's being clever and sort of figuring stuff out in a way, in real time. And I liked all that. The stunt choreography on the fights was top notch. It was very cool to watch and kind of made you feel like you were part of it in a way. So I really enjoyed it. I don't think there's much else to say about this movie without just literally telling you the plot. So I'm just going to start plugging this into the system to say, should you watch it in theaters, at home, whatever? Well, honestly, I don't think that you're going to have the chance to watch it in theaters anytime soon, unless movie theaters start doing that a lot more where they reshow movies. I saw that The Dark Knight Rises was going to be back in some AMC theaters, which is kind of interesting out of all movies. Why that one? Like of the three, why wouldn't they do the second one? I don't know. But I would say if you can watch this on streaming, you should absolutely watch it. If you can get the Blu-ray or the 4K Blu-ray for $20 or less. $20 for a Blu-ray is a lot. I bet that you'll be able to grab it secondhand sometime soon, if not already, since it's been out for a couple of years, for like $10 or something like that, if not less. So I would be on the lookout for that if you're somebody that likes to um, actually get the disc, but it was definitely worth it. I think it's worth your money if you pay for it. It's worth your money if you stream it, obviously. I wouldn't miss out on this one. I thought it was pretty good. I think it was, it's not one of these Denzel Washington performances that you're going to rank up there with like his best movies ever, but I don't think it was bad at all either. Like, I don't think the movie was bad. And I would recommend this movie to other people, which I think helps me kind of figure out the number score a little bit too. So if I were to plug this one into the, what's the score out of 5? I think that while I really did enjoy this movie, if I try to think about it objectively and I take away the part of me that really likes to watch these action sequences and stuff like that, it's like part of the reason why I like anime so much. If I take that piece of me out of the equation to try to be more objective about it, I would say that this movie is definitely a light 4. It's definitely worth a see, but it doesn't really tick up into that strong 4 territory. And maybe the second or third one will make me feel that way, but I also don't think that this movie really tried to be anything like too profound, and I think that almost is a good thing in and of itself. So with that being said, the Equalizer I thought was pretty good. I definitely recommend to watch, and that's the end of the review.